Wonderful. Are y'all fired up? I know I am, and I hope that you are too. I hope that the information that you have seen thus far in this presentation has got your biscuits burning and you are ready to take action now by getting involved with your local school board efforts. And now we are going to talk about how do you get involved in school board? And how do I run for a school board office? And remember, it doesn't matter if you have kids in a school district or not. If you live in a school district, you still have the right to be a part of the school board efforts in your community. And I encourage you to do so. Homeowners insurance would do the same thing. So now I'm going to throw it to our next video, which is about getting involved in local school board elections.
My name is Nidhi Satyani, and I am a school board member in a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. I chose to run for office a year ago because I believe in our public schools. Our public schools are the one place where everyone, regardless of identity, regardless of ability, regardless of socioeconomic differences, come together with a shared goal of becoming informed citizens, citizens who care about the welfare and dignity of others. And that's the heart of a democracy, and I believe in democratic societies. Our nation is at a fork in the road. Will we continue to honor the dignity of everyone? Will we empower our teachers to teach hard things? Will we challenge and support our students to reach a high bar? I love my district, and I believe in our students, and I know they will go out and change the world. I'm also not naive enough to believe that one suburb of Columbus, Ohio can do it alone. So I'm asking you to please join me. Run for office. It's hard, and you can do it, and it is really worth it. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Julie Womack. I am the Chief Organizing Officer for Red, Wine, and Blue. We are a national organization that channels the power of suburban women to bring change to their communities, to their suburbs, just one suburb at a time. And we focus a lot on school issues because it's so important to our communities. High quality education, good schools for our kids, accurate education in our schools. So I am really thrilled to be connected to the two women who are here with me. You probably recognize Nidhi Santiani, who just spoke in the video, and I'm really also happy to bring on Angela Abram. Both of these women have stepped up and taken that step of running for school board, and happy to announce that they were elected to their school board. So I just really wanted them to take some time to speak to you, about what it takes to run for school board. What do you need to know? So if you are a parent sitting out there right now listening, thinking, I could do that. I'm going to just start, since you already heard from Nidhi on the video, I'm going to start with Angela. Angela, could you just kind of tell everybody who's listening, what was it that made you decide I am going to step up and run for school board?
Well, good evening. One of the reasons I decided to run for school board was because my children were about to leave our high school, and I still wanted to continue to give back to my community. I had the opportunity to observe multiple school members in the community, and I just felt that it was something that I could also do to further my public service in the community.
That's great. I'd like to hear from both of you, and Nidhi, I will switch back over to you. So if you're a parent sitting out there right now and you're like, ooh, I've never run for office, I don't even know how to get started with that, what is the first step you suggest they take? How do they get that? How do they get that training to run a campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is definitely a thought I had about 2 years ago. And there are so many resources out there. Most of them are free. There are some that you can pay for that will really give you the tools that you need to create a campaign plan, which is basically a business plan for your campaign. Angela and I actually met through a local Ohio-based organization called Lead Ohio. But there are organizations all over the country that will give you the training that you need, that will teach you how to fundraise, that will teach you how to knock on doors, that will teach you how to hone your message, that will teach you how to prepare for a debate, all the different parts of a campaign. can be taught and can be learned, and there are organizations who will support you.
Angela, anything to add to that? Anything that you thought was super helpful in terms of getting training or in preparing for that run for school board?
Certainly, I was given pretty much like a syllabus. This is what you need to do first. This is what you need to do next. And I was taught how to kind of back plan from the election date all the way to whatever my current calendar date was, and be able to make sure that I was staying on target with all of the objectives that we needed to complete. So we certainly did learn a lot in our Ohio based programming. And I know there are some national programs that are through certain political parties. So, if a person is of a certain party, they can certainly look that up from the National Training Center aspect. So those are the things I do.
I know that I've worked with groups like Lead, Emerge, Run for Something if you're on the younger side. I think if you're under 40 for Run for Something. Obviously, political parties also do that training. So there are definitely so many avenues to take. How did you guys go about, and I'll go back to you, Needy. How did you go about, obviously, you got this training and then you're like, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to do this. What was like the first steps that you took? And like, how do you build a campaign team? Because you really can't do this alone, especially as busy moms and community members, you need help.
Yeah, so the first thing in Ohio is to file what we call a designation of treasurer form, which I think is similar in many states. And that officially makes you someone who is allowed to collect money. And that's really the first step. So you have to find someone who can be your treasurer. And this can be anyone. I know a lot of campaign members or a lot of candidates who will use a spouse or even themselves as their treasurer initially. I don't recommend that through the whole campaign, but initially, if you need to be your own treasurer, that's totally fine. You can always change that later. But really just someone who's pretty good with numbers. It's not a lot of complicated math, right? There's contributions, there's expenses. You just got to keep track of it. And so just someone who's willing to stay on top of the individual expenses and contributions. And then from there, you really grow your team. So all of my campaign team members were other moms in the district. Some I had met through the PTO, some I had met through my kids' soccer teams, just other people who have skills that would complement my own skills in getting that campaign off the ground.
Angela, what about you? How did you grow your team, and what do you think were the most important things you did to get started?
Well, after you get your treasurer form filled out and you go and get those signatures on your petition, it allows you to kind of get out there and knock on doors, and it allows you to interact with people that you're going to go see them because you know that they want to support you in this endeavor. So then you can kind of find out where their skill sets are. And then you can kind of form your team, because there are some people who will very happily go and knock on doors for you, but there'll be other people who will only very happily make a phone call for you. And then some people will just really prefer to write a check. So it really just depends on that group of people that you interact with. And, of course, one person knows another person. And so before you know it, you're able to kind of get that nice collective. And then also, if you're running on a slate or with other candidates, they certainly share information amongst each other. So you can certainly find out, well, if I need this type of information, who should I go to? So you become just part of a network, and then you can kind of really grow your campaign through that network.
Needy, I know you mentioned the treasurer being the first most important thing or person that you need to find. What other vital kind of people do you need on a campaign?
Yeah, I think it really depends on what your own skill set is, right? So if you're really good with social media and marketing, then you probably don't need somebody who's running that for you. I'm not particularly good with that. And so finding people to help me with the social media and marketing piece of it was good. And then in our community, because I'm a relatively new member of our community. I lived here 6 years when I started my campaign. And this is an old community where people live here for generations. So for me, it was really important that we were connecting with people on an individual basis. And so we had a lot of house parties, kind of meet and greet type things. And so one of my friends was just in charge of scheduling those and making sure they had what they needed for the house party. So just knowing your community, what are the ways in which people will learn about you and they'll trust you as someone who is one of their own, is will dictate who you invite to be on your team.
Angela, same question, like, who do you think is vital? And then maybe you can just share with us too, your best advice to somebody that is thinking about doing this, considering it, even if it's just a little, tiny thought in the back of their head right now. What advice would you give them in terms of getting started and taking that next step and actually running?
Well, certainly, first thing I would recommend is go to your school board meetings. Be involved. If you are not a parent of a child in the district, then definitely make sure you're abreast of what the current issues are in your community. A city is only as strong as its school district, and a school district is only as strong as a city. So also make yourself aware of what's happening in your city or your township. And just go for it. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Do your homework, find those people who will support you, and find those people who will be realistic with you. You don't want anyone just kind of gassing you up, but find those people who will be your true listeners, but who also tell you the truth so that you can move forward with a good intention.
Needy, what about you? Advice for people who are considering this? What do you want to tell them about what you've seen and done in terms of of stepping up to do this?
Yeah, I think the thing to keep in mind for me is that you're never alone. It may feel like you're alone, but you're not. Like I said, I met Angela through some campaign training events, but just getting to know other candidates who are hitting the trails the same time as you is such a great way to have a support group of just, hey, I had this negative experience when I was door knocking. How did you handle it? This is how I handled it. All those real-time experiences and having someone else to go through it with you is really critical. And you're not alone, right? There are people running all around the nation. One of the people that I connected with, I met through Facebook, and she was running, 7.5 hours away from me. But we would still connect every now and then just to talk about our experiences and how similar they were, and how she was responding, how I was responding. So it'll feel like you're alone sometimes, but you're really not. There are people out there.
That's great.
Keep that in mind. Yeah.
And then when I asked these two ladies to speak, and I asked, do they know each other? Because we're all in Ohio, and they both like, yes, we met at training. I'm like, that's the small world connection that you can make doing this. So thank you both for coming on and speaking. Really appreciate it. And thank you. Red, Wine, and Blue is always happy to be involved in school issues. It is a big part of what we do. So if you all are looking to organize in your community, if you're looking to get more involved in your school boards, showing up to your meetings, you can definitely come check out our website at redwine.blue. We have a parent playbook that teaches you how to organize in your community. So very happy to be here, and I'm going to move back over to the next section of our program.
Good to see you both. Thank you.
Thank you.